Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
A very good afternoon to you and welcome to iRadio News Bulletin. First, here the headlines. Jonglei Police Commissioner says a man and his wife have been killed and another in critical condition in Capoeira Town. Authorities in eastern Equatoria State says the security situation in Igoto County has returned to normalcy after days of confrontation between the army and civilians in the area. And an activist says South Sudan is way behind schedule to hold credible elections with no legal frameworks in place. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Yar Ajakdeng, and now the news in detail. Jonglei Police Commissioner says a man and his wife have been killed and another in critical condition in Capoeira Town. According to Major General Elia Costa, unknown armed men stormed the former compound of Oxfam at around 7:30 p.m. where the three were residing and shot at them. As a result, Bengo Andriano, in his 30s, got shot in the head and died on the spot. His wife, identified by a single name Mary, died this morning. The third victim, Isaac Malesh, who is fatally wounded in the head, is being treated at the UN Mission in South Sudan Health Facility in Capoeira Town. General Costa says the incident occurred at Pakwao residential area in Capoeira Town last evening. The deceased man was a charcoal business dealer, while his wife was a tea seller. Wounded Andrea is also a trader in Capoeira Town. General Elia Costa narrated to iRadio what happened this morning.
Yesterday, 7:30, we received a report that there is an unknown criminals came and attacked house of some boys in Pakwao residential area. I shoot them, so one died at the spot, the other one injury, a serious injury, and then the wife of the deceased also was disappeared, missing. So and then the third one, which is the woman, the wife of the deceased. Now we got a report that the one who is in the hospital, he also passed away. So that is what's going on now. Yeah. Now there are three, because the lady also, we found her in the morning, also dead.
The motive behind the attack is unclear, but General Costa says police are investigating the incidents. Authorities in eastern Equatoria State says the security situation in Igoto County has returned to normalcy after days of confrontation between the army and civilians in the area. Last week, one SSPDF soldier was reportedly killed by youth in Igoto's central Payam while they were having a drink. The incident prompted the armed forces to rush to the scene where they clashed with the local civil youth, leading to a known number of casualties. The incident created panic, causing displacement of the locals to the nearby areas. However, the Minister of Local Government and Law Enforcement, Peter Lokeng Lotone, says the situation has normalized and people have started returning to their homes. However, he condemned the violent approach of the armed forces towards the civil population. Lokeng spoke to iRadio this morning from Turit.
The situation in Igoto County is already controlled and calm. It's not really right for the soldiers to fight with the population, but always military has an ethic of if there is something happening to one of their colleagues, I think they will not investigate. The police are the one who can run and go and investigate. But the soldier, they have a different ethic of the soldier. You not find out that maybe there is a problem or they quarrel or they do what, they just go the way they can do things. We condemn it seriously because they are the protectors of the people.
About a week ago, at least 2 people have been killed and another wounded following an ambush on motorbike riders along Igoto-Seretenya Road. Still in eastern Equatoria State, police in Capoeira Town have arrested a man for stabbing his friend to a medical level. 38-year-old Peter Lokenyi hurt 31-year-old Marino Locheri yesterday while he was trying to separate two women who were fighting in the streets. The suspect accused his friend of meddling into a conflict he does not understand the root cause. He then dragged his male mate and knifed him in the shoulder. Capoeira Municipal Council Mayor Elia Lokudu told iRadio the suspect has been detained.
As people in charge of security, and I want to register my gratitude to the law enforcement agencies. They acted swiftly. I have a very committed team of committed men and women in uniform who are dedicated to their service, and they always act swiftly, and they were able to act and apprehended the culprit. And the culprit now is in police custody.
Injured Lochori is now receiving medical treatment at Capoeira Hospital. You are listening to iRadio Afternoon News. An activist says South Sudan is way behind schedule to hold credible elections with no legal frameworks in place. Edmond Yakani, the executive director of the Community Empowerment for Progress organization, says the country is not yet ready for elections, citing the lack of conducive environments. He said critical tasks are yet to be implemented in the revitalized peace agreements. The 2018 peace deal obligates the peace government to organize elections 60 days before the end of current transitional periods. This is expected to enable the establishment of a democratically elected government. According to the peace agreement's implementation matrix, the parties are only left with less than 7 months to the end of the transitional periods. Prerequisites to elections, the agreement expects the permanent constitution to be completed and enacted before a new National Election Commission organized the polls. It also states that the Political Parties Act of 2012 must be reviewed and approved by the parliament. This is to enable free and democratic registration of political parties in the country. Last month, the parliament deliberated on the provisions and controversially approved it amidst uproar from opposition MPs. Parliamentarians, mainly from the SPLM-IO, claim some articles in the Political Parties Act have been tampered with. Speaker Gemma Nuno Kumba, however, said the matter has been referred to the presidency. Besides, the government is yet to reconstitute an electoral commission, graduate the unified forces, and implement key judicial and economic reforms, among others. Speaking on the Dawn this morning, Edmond Yakani said the government should first ensure there is conducive environment before the country goes into for elections.
We have legal framework for elections, so that when there's electoral disputes, you can use that legal framework. This legal framework composed of amending the Political Party Council Act, amending the National Election Act, and which is not yet been done, reconstitute the Political Party Council, reconstitute the National Electoral Commission. These are two basic legal frameworks that have to be in place. And these have to be in line with other laws, and specific laws that have linked with the role of security and defense in electoral processes, to make sure that the state institution for security and defense does not take side with one party. You need to have elections when communities are, in terms of civic responsibility, are on position of standing up and exercising their political freedoms to decide on which leaders they want and how are they going to vote. Now, if you see almost over 50 or 40% of our communities are intercommunal violence. As we speak now, there's a violence going on among our communities. People are killing themselves. Conducive environment for conducting peaceful and credible elections are not yet in place.
In May, the U.S. Embassy in Juba re-emphasized on the need for South Sudan leaders to create a conducive environment for general elections if the Biden administration is to support the exercise. David Renz, the former embassy's charge d'affaires, said the U.S. government wants full implementation of key provisions of the 2018 peace agreements. And finally, before the international news, the African Development Bank has approved a grant of $8.1 million for South Sudan in funding for its emergency food production program. In a statement early this week, the bank said the grant accounts for additional financing to the ongoing agricultural markets, value addition, and trade development projects. My colleague James Atem has these assessments.
The project is expected to boost agricultural production and productivity by using improved seeds, fertilizer, and extension services for farmers and to strengthen the institutional capacity of the agricultural sector. It will be used to procure 498 million tons of sorghum and cowpea seeds, 10 million tons of rice seeds, and 30 million tons of fertilizers to be distributed to farmers. The implementing agencies said they are seeking to contribute to reduce food insecurity, economic growth, and building of community and household resilience and social cohesion. According to reports, South Sudan's economy recorded a strong growth after signing of the revitalized agreement, with a real GDP growth estimated at 9.3% in the year 2019 to 2020. The economy, however, registered a decline of minus 3.4% in 2021, a situation that resulted from the fall in oil income after the emergency of COVID-19 pandemic. The program targets hundreds of thousands of households who have lost their crops and livestock to years of flooding in the 5 states of Northern Bahr el Ghazal, Upper Nile, Western Bahr el Ghazal, Eastern Equatoria, and Western Equatoria. It is implemented in partnership with the UN, FAO, and could lead to sustainable increase in the country's agricultural production and improved quality of life for farmers. Reporting for iRadio, my name is James Atem.
Thank you, Atem, for that report. And you're still listening to iRadio Afternoon News, and now to the stories making headlines in the region and international scene. My colleague Lasuba Memo joins us, and this international news is proudly brought to you by MTN.
Thanks, Yarajak. In the international arena, let's begin in the neighboring Kenya, where deputy presidential candidates faced off in a TV debate on Tuesday night that was dominated by corruption and so-called state capture. The two-tier debate involved 4 candidates, but all eyes were on Rigathi Gachagua and Martha Karua from the main political coalitions. The candidates were asked a series of questions about the economy, governance, and integrity of public office holders. They didn't talk over each other or interrupt and waited patiently for their allocated time. There were even handshakes at the end, a cordial atmosphere rarely seen in Kenyan politics. Elsewhere, South Africa's acting public protector has announced it will issue a subpoena for President Cyril Ramaphosa to answer questions about the robbery at his game farm in 2020, in which $4 million is alleged to have been stolen. Mr. Ramaphosa missed an 18th July deadline to reply to country's corruption watchdog. In June, the watchdog opened a probe over potential breaches of the Executive Ethics Code after Mr. Ramaphosa was accused of bribing burglars to keep quiet. Questions are being asked as to why he might have had much cash stored at a personal property. And finally, Sri Lanka MPs have elected Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe as the country's new president, despite his unpopularity with the public. Mr. Wickremesinghe faces the task of leading the country out of its economic collapse and restoring public order after months of mass protests. He roundly defeated his main rival for the job, Dulus Alahaferuma, with 134 votes to 82 in the parliamentary vote. That's all in the international scene. Back to Yarajak.
Thank you, Lasuba Memo, for that roundup of international news. And now my colleague, Jacob Moyo Felix, joins us with the sports news.
Good afternoon, here. And to start with, the high delegation from Juba National Olympic Committee has arrived in Malakal and Wow ahead of the celebration of International Olympics Day. South Sudan was supposed to join the rest of the world in celebrations of the International Olympics Day on June 23rd, but the event was postponed to 23rd this month. International Olympic Day or World Olympic Day is observed every year on June 23rd, and it is a celebration of sports, health, and being together. The day provides a moment for everyone to gather and get active with a purpose. This year marks the 74th anniversary of Olympic Day, 7th in South Sudan, and for the first time in Wau and Malakal, under the theme Together for a Peaceful World. Young people from 2 towns and schools are expected to participate in different sports games on Saturday. Barcelona have signed Poland striker Robert Lewandowski from Bayern Munich on a 4-year contract worth 50 million euros. The 33-year-old had 1 year left on his contract with the German champions, but in May said, "My story with Bayern is over." He has joined his new teammates in Miami as part of Barcelona's 4-match tour of the United States. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich have signed the Netherlands defender Matthijs de Ligt from Juventus on a 5-year contract in a deal worth 77 million euros. De Ligt joined Juventus from Ajax on a 5-year contract in July 2019 and spent 3 seasons with the 36-time Serie A champions. The 22-year-old won 1 Serie A title and 1 Coppa Italia in 117 appearances in Turin. And in athletics, Britain's Jake Whiteman produced a stunning run to take 1,500 meters gold at the World Championships in Oregon. The 28-year-old produced a brilliant final burst to pass Olympic champion Jacob Ingesbryson and clinch the title in 3 minutes 29.23. Whiteman looked stunned as he crossed the line in a world-leading time. He is the first British man to win the World 1,500 meters title since Steve Cram in 1983. Whiteman's father, Geoff, is the stadium announcer in Uganda and was able to call his son's victory. End of the sports news, and back to you, Yara Jack Deng, in the studio.
Thank you, Jacob Moyo, for those sports news. And now to end this news bulletin, here is a recap of the main headlines again. Jonglei Police Commissioner says a man and his wife have been killed and another in critical condition in Igoto Town. Authorities in eastern Equatoria State says the security situation in Igoto County has returned to normalcy after days of confrontation between the army and civilians in the area. And an activist says South Sudan is way behind schedule due to hold credible elections with no legal frameworks in the place. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It is also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page iRadio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel iRadio South Sudan and watch our comprehensive interviews. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30. I am Yar Ajak. Thank you for listening.
Oriata Ektisad